Overcoming obstacles is what has made me a successful real estate developer and investor and who I am today. I started with no money. I didn't have any sort of track record. I had no formal education in the space. When I launched my first deal, I knew nothing about entitlements and there was a bunch of title problems. I have gone through COVID. Lately, have had the capital markets freeze. Banks have stopped lending, dealt with crazy partners. Every major obstacle I can think of has actually taught me something and has made me so much more confident as an investor and so much more successful as an entrepreneur. And I just wouldn't be the same person without the obstacles. If you think you're gonna build something great or do anything substantial that's going to make an impact on anyone, you are going to have the perseverance to push through obstacles. And this is why. I'm a real estate developer and investor that has overcome dozens of obstacles in the last decade and raised hundreds of millions of dollars and come out the other end successful. So I'm here to tell you how I did that. When I first got started, one of the biggest obstacles that I had was that I didn't have any money or track record, meaning I didn't have any experience doing it. So when you go to ask for money, people want to know that you know what you're doing, and I didn't. So the way that I overcame that at first was by partnering with the correct people. So when I first got to Nashville, I had 100 meetings. I wanted to know everyone in town, and I aligned myself with people that were interested in doing the same thing I was doing. I was interested in building projects that I didn't see offered in the market in terms of design and affordability. And I thought, okay, I'm going to offer something that this is what I want to do. Who else is aligned with me on that? And I basically found several people who did have more of a track record or did have a similar goal and partnered up with them in the beginning to build my own confidence and my investors' confidence in the fact that we could execute because they had executed before. And so partnerships are a really good way to get started out of the gate and kind of seek skills that you don't have in other people. That's one way of when you're starting with no skills or track record to lend one. COVID was another obstacle. So I was 5 years into start having my company, and obviously, like everybody experienced, the entire world changed and my entire business model had changed. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, actually, for where I was. I was located in Nashville, and COVID actually spiked a bunch of people coming into the city and wanting to buy real estate. So it ended up being a good thing in the end. But one of my core businesses was based on hospitality. And of course, everybody stopped traveling. And so something like COVID taught me that in an instant, your entire business model can change and come upside down. And when you start a project or you go to look at an investment in anything, or you're going to start any sort of entrepreneurial adventure, you have a business plan. They're pretty much not worth the paper they're written on. We always have underwriting, that says what we're going to sell something for and how much it's going to cost. There is no way by the time you're done that project turned out exactly how you thought. But what COVID taught me was that you have to have so much room in all of your business planning and all of your numbers to allow for something totally unforeseen, acts of God, natural disasters, capital markets completely changing, entire business models and asset classes like office becoming evaporated. That changed billions and billions of dollars of real estate investment across the world. And you can't be so sure and so tight on your numbers that it has to all go according to plan, because it never will, especially in a bigger project or especially in anything that is going to take, it's not like buying and selling stocks. Like you're committing to an investment for several years. And so that really taught me to be ultra conservative and just keep as many pockets of contingency as you can in your plan and underwriting, just knowing that your entire business model can change overnight. One of the hardest obstacles I've had to overcome is issues with personnel. And they've been various over the years, wild, crazy stories that I won't get into on social media. But I would say that what I learned is that the people in your business do make your business, and that you cannot let people in your inner circle that are not extremely qualified and extremely vetted. So when I was growing very quickly, the market was crazy. We had lots of projects. I hired quickly, and that was a mistake. And I think that I look back and people, a lot of people it was this young, vibrant culture, which was fun, but actually really ineffective. So what I've learned is that I'd rather have a handful of ultra qualified assassin level people, and I've eliminated any sort of middle tier role in my company. And I've supported those assassin level executive people with admin personnel or service, facilities to help them do their job better, things that make their job easier, AI software, different tools. But that having many less people of the right people is way more important than having some robust team that has to be babysat. And so I've learned a lot of these lessons over the years, but how anybody could apply this to their life is just really considering that your inner circle should be protected to the core, and that you shouldn't let anybody in it. And if you are really searching for success in your family life, in your personal life, in your business, you have to protect your core goals and business and purposes. And just everybody doesn't get to be a part of that. You have to have set a very, very high caliber for people. And it doesn't matter, how overwhelmed you are, putting the wrong person in a role will always cost you 10 times more in the end than just finding the right person or being patient or frankly just doing it yourself until that person comes along. One more recent obstacle I've had to overcome is interest rates rising so drastically along with inflation. Those are two kind of coupled things that are more present. And that taught me that, again, nobody could have ever predicted this happening. No one ever would have thought, okay, all of a sudden it's going to cost you double the amount to build what you were building before. And so one way that I've really overcome that, or what I've learned, is that you always have to have a plan B and be able to pivot on something. And for example, I have an industrial strategy that I was running for a long time. And basically building ground up construction doesn't work under that strategy. So the way that we've pivoted is we've done more of industrial outdoor storage, which doesn't involve any building, as an example, but it still involves high cash flow. And so we've been able to achieve our cash flowing portfolio type investments that we've always wanted without having building. Now, it's not perfect. I never would have thought that we would have gotten into that. And, it's still a work in progress, but I am able to think outside that box a little bit and step out of, okay, what have I always done, and pivot with the market, because these are huge obstacles that I don't really have a choice that I had to overcome. I still have to pay my employees, and I still have to, continue to work. And if I don't find a strategy that works within this market, then, I'm kind of dead in the water. A lot of developers wrapped up after office and retail and different asset classes dried up. They never really pivoted and found the next, where the puck is going asset class. And so that's always been my specialty, is sort of staying on the forefront of opportunity and kind of looking at where the puck is going. And that's just from obstacles like the market changing so drastically and inflation that impacted my core business to the point where I couldn't keep selling what I was selling. And so that's definitely something, pushing through these obstacles has taught me. One obstacle that I had was I was assembling a huge parcels of land on the water in Nashville. And one of the sellers was right in the middle. So it was about 20 acres, and it was 4 different sellers. And one of them was right in the middle of this parcel. And he didn't have a place to move his insulation company. So he had an insulation business. I wanted to give him like $15 million for his land. And he couldn't imagine what he was going to do with all that money, and what would his kids do, where would they go to work if he sold his company. And this was like his problem. And so instead of just going, okay, this is, going to kill my deal and I'm going to have a missing parcel, I went and I found him a site to move into. It took me 18 months, I think. But he had his parameters. He needed a certain amount of square foot. He needed to be this close to town. He needed, this budget. And I went and found him it, bought him it. I did all the work on it, and I facilitated moving him into that site so that I could finish my assemblage. A lot of people would have probably just stopped at, he doesn't want to sell and there's nowhere for him to go. It took me 18 months, but I just continued to look, and I put it out there, and I did posts on social media, and I basically figured out how to move him. And the funny part of that is that not only did that get the deal done, but it actually launched a whole new business for me, which was industrial. And I don't think I would have thought about even having an industrial business, which has been a really nice complement to my residential business, unless I'd gone through that exercise and pushed through that obstacle. Once I started talking to the brokers, and I'm going, hey, why is there no place for this guy to go? He's just like a small business. This is Nashville. There's so many small businesses. There's so many contractors to support all the building. Why are there no shallow bay warehouses? And talking to the brokers, they're like, oh, well, the big institutional shops, they all build these big Amazon type facilities. No one's really building this. And I go, well, why? And then I dug into that and ended up developing about 1 million square feet of this type of product in the end. But I never would have discovered that had I not pushed through that obstacle and kind of kept fresh on pushing through and not just giving up on something. So that was a really nice reward that came from overcoming that obstacle. If you want to hear more about how I built my business during unstable times, watch this next video.